The sun didn't just shine over Ouagadougou that afternoon. Crushed it. Heat pressed down like a heavy hand. Sidewalks cracked and peeled. Dust clung to the air, turning every breath into work. The city roared. Vendors shouted prices like prayers. Car horns screamed without mercy. Children ran between bumpers and tires. Small bodies dodging danger with baskets balanced on fragile heads. This was not a place where miracles happened. And yet, this is where one began. Through the chaos, a single car moved slowly. No sirens. No flashing lights. No armored convoy. Just a plain government vehicle. A driver, 2 aides, and President Ibrahim Traoré, sitting quietly in the back seat. He chose it this way. Power should never build walls, he often said. A leader must feel the dust his people breathe. At a crowded intersection, the car stopped. That's when he saw her. A tiny figure pushing through the noise. Barely 8 years old. A faded dress hanging loose on her thin frame. One sandal broken, slapping the ground with every step. In her small arms, she carried a tray of peanuts and candies, lined up carefully, as if order alone could protect them from the world. Her eyes darted toward the guards. Fear lived there, but hunger gave her courage. She stepped closer. Her voice trembled, nearly swallowed by the horns. "Please, sir, would you like to buy something?" One of the guards lowered the window halfway, ready to wave her away. But Ibrahim raised his hand. "Let her come." The window rolled down fully. The girl froze. This wasn't just another passenger. This was him, the man from old TV screens, the face adults whispered about at night. Now looking at her, not with power, but with calm, steady eyes. "How much are the peanuts?" Ibrahim asked gently. 50 francs, sir," she whispered, holding the packet with both hands. He took it carefully, then slipped her a note worth 10 times more. Her eyes widened. Disbelief and gratitude collided on her face. Before she could speak, Ibrahim leaned forward. "Turn into the next street," he told the driver. Then, quietly but firmly, to his aide, "Bring her with us." The guards exchanged uneasy glances. "Excellency, that's not protocol." Ibrahim didn't raise his voice. "Protocol can wait," he said. "This child cannot." The girl clutched her tray tighter. Should she run? Had she done something wrong? Ibrahim leaned closer, his tone soft. "Don't be afraid. I only want to talk to you." Her chest rose and fell rapidly. Then slowly, with hesitant steps, she climbed inside. Cold air brushed her skin, but her body stayed stiff, as if she had stepped into a world she wasn't allowed to touch. The street noise faded. The horns disappeared. Only the low hum of the engine remained. Inside the quiet car, her tray rested on her lap like an anchor to reality. "What's your name?" Ibrahim asked. Her lips moved carefully. "Awa. Awa," he repeated with a smile. "That's a beautiful name. How old are you?" 8. His eyes softened. 8 years old, already carrying the weight of grown-ups. "Do you sell peanuts every day?" She nodded. "Yes, sir. I must help my father." Silence filled the car. Not an empty silence, a listening one. Slowly, her story spilled out. "My father used to drive a taxi," she murmured. "But after the accident, he can't move his legs." She swallowed. "Mama is gone, so now it's just us." Her voice shook. "I sell to buy food, and to pay what we can." She turned away quickly, ashamed of saying too much. Ibrahim's chest tightened. He had read thousands of poverty reports, signed endless documents filled with numbers. None of them felt like this. A child telling her pain with the calm of someone who had no choice. "Do you like school, Awa?" he asked softly. For the first time, light appeared. "Yes," she said quickly. "I loved it, especially drawing." Then her voice fell. "But I stopped after Mama died. I must stay with Papa. We need money." Her small hands tightened around the tray. The air grew heavy. Ibrahim reached out, resting a steady hand on her shoulder. "You deserve to be a child, Awa," he said. "To learn, to dream, to laugh." His voice firmed. Not to carry the world on your shoulders. That is your right. Her eyes lifted, fragile, doubtful, but alive with hope. Why would you help me? She whispered. Because your life matters, Ibrahim replied. And because children like you are the future of Burkina Faso. Tears trembled at the edge of her eyes. For the first time, she looked at him not with fear, but with belief. As the car returned to the intersection, Ibrahim reached into a small bag. He placed a clean notebook in her lap, then a box of colored pencils. Write your dreams, Awa, he said. Draw them, protect them. We will make them come true. Her fingers traced the notebook slowly, touched each pencil like a jewel. A shy smile appeared, the first crack of light through years of guarded strength. And in that quiet car, far from the shouting streets, promise was born. Later, inside the presidential palace, cool air whispered through marble halls. But Ibrahim felt no comfort. He sat still, staring at the polished floor. Awa's voice echoed in his mind. Mama is gone. Papa cannot walk. He had read poverty reports 1,000 times. Now, every number had a face. Every statistic had a child's voice. And this story was only beginning. A promise made to a child. Cannot wait. Not for schedules. Not for politics. Not for comfort. That very evening, Ibrahim Traoré summoned his ministers. The long mahogany table shone under crystal light. Folders lay stacked with neat precision. Pens were aligned. Faces were calm. They expected another routine meeting. They were wrong. Ibrahim did not sit at first. He stood, and when he spoke, the room felt smaller. Today, he began slowly, I met a child. The words landed heavier than numbers ever could. Her name is Awa. She is 8 years old. She sells peanuts on the street because her mother is dead. Her father cannot walk. She no longer goes to school. Silence thickened. And she is not alone, he continued, eyes moving from face to face. Thousands of our children are living the same story. His voice sharpened. This must change. Not tomorrow. Not next year. Now. Chairs creaked. The throat cleared. Excellency, one minister said carefully, choosing every word. With respect. These issues are complicated. Budgets are already. Ibrahim's palm touched the table. Not a slam. Just enough. The room froze. Do not give me excuses, he said quietly. Give me truth. His gaze did not blink. I want to know how many children are out of school. And why? Not in 6 months. Not in 3. 2 weeks. And I don't want paperwork, he added. I want solutions. No one argued. 2 weeks later, his desk disappeared under reports. Ibrahim opened them one by one. The truth was heavier than he imagined. Tens of thousands of children, gone from classrooms. Some had never entered one at all. They sold peanuts, maize, scrap metal. Others worked in dark workshops. Some simply vanished, swallowed by poverty before anyone learned their names. But ink on paper was not enough. So once again, Ibrahim left the armored convoy behind. He walked through narrow alleys of Ouagadougou, into forgotten villages, across dust that clung to skin and memory. He sat on straw mats inside homes where 5 people shared one bed. He touched cracked bowls that held nothing but hope. He listened to silence, where laughter should have lived. In one dusty courtyard, he met an old woman named Fatou. She lay on a mat, bones thin, breath shallow. Beside her, her granddaughter roasted maize by the roadside, a child feeding survival instead of dreams. Every day my heart breaks, Fatou whispered, tears cutting lines through her wrinkled cheeks. She should be in school. But what choice do we have? What choice do we have? The words followed Ibrahim as he stepped outside. The sun pressed down. His fists clenched. In that moment, he understood something brutal. This wasn't just about education. This was about survival. Back at the palace, Ibrahim called his ministers again. This time, there was no hesitation in his voice. No pauses. Only resolve. Half measures will change nothing, he said, pacing slowly before the long table. We must strike at the roots. He pointed to the reports. Food first. No child can learn on an empty stomach. Support for disabled parents, wheelchairs, ramps, therapy. Dignity restored. His voice rose. Families who keep their children in school will not be punished by poverty. They will be supported. A minister shifted uneasily. Excellency, the scale is enormous. Even with aid, the budget. Ibrahim stopped. His hand pressed firmly against the table. His voice dropped, but when he spoke, it rolled through the room like thunder. And in that moment everyone understood. This was no longer a discussion. This was a reckoning. Scale is no excuse. Ibrahim's voice did not rise. It didn't need to. Every single day we delay, he continued, eyes fixed on his ministers, another child lays down a dream. The room was so quiet you could hear the soft hum of the lights above. Children are not numbers, he said slowly. They are futures, and we cannot afford to lose even one more. No one spoke. No one dared. There were no charts on the screen that day, no graphs, no colored projections. Instead, Ibrahim carried Awa's story into that room. He spoke of her small hands, how they trembled as they clutched a tray of peanuts heavier than her years. He spoke of her father, lying motionless on a low wooden bed, staring at a ceiling that had become his sky. He spoke of a school uniform, washed, folded, and hidden away because hope no longer fit inside it. And something shifted, not just in the room, but beyond it, beyond borders. Funds that had been impossible suddenly appeared. Volunteers signed up without being asked. Doctors, teachers, and rehabilitation experts flew in from across Africa and beyond. What began as one child's pain became a call the world could not ignore. Newspapers wrote headlines. Foreign delegations requested meetings. Cameras followed every step. But for Ibrahim Traoré, none of it mattered, because this was never about programs. It was about her, about an 8-year-old girl named Awa. 3 weeks later, Ibrahim returned to her neighborhood. Quietly, no cameras, no speeches, no banners, just a small convoy, social workers, rehabilitation staff, teachers, and crates of supplies. The alley smelled of smoke and roasted maize. The same alley where Awa once stood barefoot in the sun. Children peeked from doorways, whispering his name in disbelief. Some ran ahead, announcing him before he arrived. Inside the one-room house, the air was still. Awa's father sat on his low wooden bed. When he saw Ibrahim step inside, his hands gripped the frame, his body instinctively trying to rise. Ibrahim moved fast. He placed a steady hand on the man's shoulder. "Please," he said softly, "don't strain yourself. You've already carried enough." The man's voice broke. "Sir." For a moment words failed him. Then they came in a rush. "Since the accident, and then my wife's death, Awa kept us alive. She became both daughter and mother in this house." Ibrahim shook his head gently. "You don't need to explain," he replied. "From today on, you are not alone." Across the room, Awa sat hunched over the notebook he had given her. Her fingers were smudged with pencil marks. She was drawing a tree. Its roots were deep, its branches wide. When she looked up and saw him, her eyes widened. But this time, there was no fear, only trust. Ibrahim knelt beside her. From a cloth bag, he pulled out a neatly folded school uniform. Then a backpack, filled with notebooks, pens, and bright art supplies. "These are yours," he said gently, "for the classroom where you belong." Her hands trembled as she took them. She pressed the uniform against her chest, as if it were the key to a door she thought had been locked forever. Her father buried his face in his hands. Tears streamed freely. "Thank you," he whispered. "I never thought anyone would come for us." Ibrahim turned to the rehabilitation worker waiting by the door. "Tomorrow we begin," he said calmly. "A wheelchair, a ramp, regular visits, meals, transport, tutoring." Then firmly, This family will not be forgotten. He turned back to Awa. Her eyes searched his face. Your only job now, he told her softly, is to learn, to dream, to grow. Leave the burdens to us. And in that small, crowded room, hope lit up for the first time in years. A week later, the promise took shape. A small team moved carefully through the narrow doorway of Awa's home. A rehabilitation worker measured the frame with tape, jotting notes. A caseworker crouched beside her father, speaking gently. The wheelchair arrives tomorrow. Physiotherapy twice a week. A social worker will visit every Friday. The stipend will be transferred monthly. If Awa struggles at school, she added, we step in immediately. Her father's lips trembled. He pressed his palms together, as if afraid the moment might vanish. It feels like a dream, he whispered. Outside, a yellow school bus waited. School Route 3 was painted on its side. Children leaned out of the windows, laughing, calling each other's names. At the doorway, Awa hesitated. Her uniform was crisp. Her sandals were new. Her backpack hugged tight against her chest. But her eyes were uncertain. Ibrahim placed a steady hand on her father's shoulder. You've carried her far enough, he said quietly. Now let her walk toward her own future. Then he crouched in front of Awa. The red beret on his head caught the sunlight. Climb aboard, he said with a warm smile. Your place is in the classroom. She looked back at her father. He nodded, pride and tears fighting on his face. Awa drew a deep breath, straightened her shoulders. I promise, sir, she whispered, and she stepped onto the bus. The door folded shut. The engine hummed. The bus pulled forward, carrying her toward a life she once thought was impossible. The days that followed felt like a second birth. Every morning, the bus horn echoed down the lane. Awa would run out, braids swinging, backpack bouncing. Her father watched from the doorway, standing a little straighter each day. At school, Awa began quietly. She sat at the back, notebook open, eyes observant. Then the teacher asked a simple arithmetic question. Awa's hand lifted, almost by instinct. The answer came quickly. Correct, the teacher said. The class turned in surprise. Awa lowered her gaze, but a shy smile escaped. During breaks, she filled her notebook with drawings. Baobab trees, bustling markets, her father resting in warm sunlight. Soon, children crowded around her desk. Draw my house, one boy begged. Show me how to make the river shine, another asked. Her hands, once burned by the sun selling peanuts, now created worlds on paper. Weeks slipped into months. The program spread beyond Ouagadougou, into distant villages, across dusty roads. One child, then another, then hundreds. One afternoon, Awa's teacher sat at her desk, writing a letter. Awa has become a source of hope for this class, it read. She reminds us that with the right support, even the most fragile dream can take root and grow. When the letter reached Ibrahim, he read it twice. Slowly, he set it down. He turned toward the window. The sky above the capital glowed red as the sun set. The city breathed with evening sounds. His chest rose with a deep breath, heavy but full. This, he murmured to himself, is why I chose to serve. Not for power, but for children like Awa. Yet he knew this was only the beginning. The day of the national address arrived. Cameras flashed. Lights blazed. The nation held its breath. Ibrahim Traoré stepped to the podium, his uniform simple, his stance steady. He didn't need grandeur. His presence alone commanded the room. And when he spoke next, the future of a nation leaned forward to listen. The story of Awa is not unique. Ibrahim Traoré paused, not for drama, but to let the truth land. It is the story of thousands of children across our land. He continued, his voice calm, steady, unshakable. Children whose names we do not know. Children whose dreams are carried on small shoulders. No child, he said firmly, should sell peanuts under a burning sun, when they should be learning inside a classroom. No parent, widowed, disabled, or struggling, should ever be forced to choose between medicine and education. A hush fell over Burkina Faso. In villages and cities alike, families leaned closer to their radios and televisions. Mothers reached for their children's hands. Fathers lowered their heads, memories rising, of their own childhoods, of choices they were forced to make too early. Ibrahim did not shout. He didn't need to. Education is not charity, he said. It is justice. And justice delayed, he added quietly, is justice denied. That night something moved, not slowly, not cautiously, like fire. Youth groups organized overnight. Civil society leaders mobilized networks that had been silent for years. Private companies stepped forward, offering scholarships, internships, tools, training. Abandoned community halls reopened as after-school centers. Forgotten schools breathed again. Their courtyards, once silent, filled with laughter. But Ibrahim knew something dangerous about speeches. They inspire, and then they fade. Trust had to be earned. Within weeks, a public tracking system went live, showing province by province how every coin was spent. Independent audits followed. Open reports. No shadows. And Ibrahim did something unexpected. He began visiting schools. Without warning. No cameras. No announcements. He sat with teachers. He listened to children. He walked dusty paths into villages no president had visited in decades. One quiet afternoon, he stepped into a modest classroom in Bobo Dioulasso. The chalkboard was cracked. The benches worn smooth by generations of students. Sunlight streamed through broken shutters, dust dancing in golden beams. The room pulsed with voices reciting lessons in unison. At the back, a girl leaned over her notebook, sketching with fierce concentration. She hadn't noticed him. Ibrahim stepped closer, his boots barely creaking. "Awa," he said gently, almost teasing. Her head shot up. Surprise flashed, then joy. "Mr. President," she said, standing quickly, eyes bright. "You came again." He smiled and pulled a small wooden stool beside her. "Of course," he replied. "I wanted to see how my brightest student is doing." He nodded toward her notebook. "What are you working on?" Shyly, she turned the page. A baobab tree filled it, massive, rooted deep, branches stretching wide. "We're learning about ecosystems," she explained. "I draw so I remember." Ibrahim studied it carefully. "You've drawn more than a tree," he said slowly. "You've drawn strength." He looked at her. "Do you know what the baobab is sometimes called?" Her eyes lit up. "The tree of life." "Exactly," he smiled. "And do you know why?" She thought for a moment. "Because it gives more than it takes?" He nodded. "Just like you." Awa giggled softly, then leaned closer, lowering her voice. "They always ask me for help now," she admitted, glancing around. "Math, reading, sometimes drawing." The teacher, who had approached quietly, smiled. "She's become a leader," the teacher said. "First to arrive, last to leave. When others struggle, she doesn't wait for me. She helps them herself." Ibrahim turned back to Awa, pride swelling in his chest. "And how does that make you feel?" he asked. She tapped her pencil thoughtfully. "It feels good," she said slowly. "Before, I was always the one behind." She looked up. "Now I know how it feels when someone believes in you." Her voice grew steadier. "I want others to feel that too." For a long moment, Ibrahim said nothing. He simply looked at her. The same girl who once trembled on the street, tray of peanuts shaking in her hands. Now sitting tall, her voice strong. He placed a hand gently on her shoulder. "Keep going, Awa," he said softly. "You are not just the future. You are already shaping it." Her smile spread wide. "I won't stop," she whispered. "I promise." Outside, the sky stretched wide and golden. Ibrahim paused beside his car, gazing down the dusty road disappearing into the horizon. The challenges ahead were enormous. Resistance, setbacks, doubt. But he carried her words with him. Promise louder than any speech. Awa's story was no longer just hers. It had become a spark, a movement, a flame, a reminder to leaders everywhere that change does not begin with speeches. It begins with the courage to face the truth and the heart to act for those without a voice. One child's cry can awaken a leader, and one leader's action can transform a nation. If the story moved you, if it reminded you why humanity still matters, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it, because stories like this don't just inspire, they change the world.